Hi, Imre.
Hi, Anna.
Dear friends, dear audience, I would like to introduce Imre Bolya to you. I met him just 2 days ago, and later on I will tell you how. Imre Bolya is, first of all, the great fan of Tony Robbins. Imre Bolya has been to a number of his workshops, to a number of his seminars. He is a graduate of Tony Robbins program, the Mastery University. Besides, Imre has published a book. The title of this book is Charisma, and I have this book actually. I'm so grateful to you for this book. Imre also is a business trainer, business coach. Imre is a master of neuro-linguistic programming, and Imre has a number of workshops on charisma. Is there anything I have forgotten to tell about you?
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you for this nice introduction.
Okay, thank you. And now a few words about myself. So my name is Anna Litovkina. Similarly to Imre, I'm also a great fan of Tony Robbins. I have been to two of his seminars, one in Moscow last year and another one in London. I'm a professor of linguistics. I am a psychologist and I'm a coach. And nowadays, it is my passion to prepare interviews. Let us start, Imre. I have a number of questions, and actually, the questions would be, first of all, about Tony Robbins. Could you tell me when you decided to go to Tony Robbins programs? How many times you have been to his programs, and the impact of his programs at your entire life?
Thank you, Anna. So first off, I started my journey with Anthony Robbins in 2010. So it's already 9 years ago. And why I decided to check Unleash the Power Within, or UPW as we call it, is because back then I had a Hungarian mentor who was teaching me great stuff about life, about business, and a couple of times he mentioned Tony Robbins, and I wanted to check, okay, who is this Tony Robbins guy in reality? I went to Rome. It was in Rome, in Italy, 2010, and I was blown away. I was blown away with the content, with the atmosphere, with the effect that the seminar had on me, and since then I'm passionate at learning. There are a couple of people who I'm learning from, but my number one source of learning and modeling is Anthony Robbins. And you asked me how many times I visited his seminars. Actually, I don't know the exact number. Actually, every year my goal is to attend 1 or 2 seminars, and what I know for sure is that I've done all the seminars that Tony Robbins has. So I did Mastery University, the entire program. I did Leadership Mastery, which also consists of 3 other programs. And 6 or 7 years ago, I started crewing at UPW, and 2 years ago, I was, let's say, promoted to be a senior leader, which means that I can officially go to any Tony Robbins events where I'm invited, or I would like to go. And my role there is to support the participants, because Tony is an amazing person on stage, but he cannot reach everybody one by one and help him. But the role of senior leaders and trainers is to support Tony on his mission. So that's how I started, and that's what I do these days. So for example, this December I'm traveling to Florida to attend Date with Destiny as a senior leader, and my role will be there also not to have fun, also to have fun.
Yes.
The main role is to help the participants to change their lives forever.
And how has your life changed since you started attending his programs?
I think that there is no area in my life that hasn't changed. So I implemented so many changes, just the biggest ones. 4 years ago, I left the company I worked for and I started my own business. I found the love of my life 1 year ago. Actually, we met 4 years ago, but back then we couldn't. It couldn't work out. But 1 year ago, I'm the happiest guy on the face of the earth. Yeah, and I changed the way I eat. I changed the way I do sports. I changed the way I interact with people. I have a completely different view of life since I started my journey with Tony. So basically, I completely changed my life in the last 9 years.
And don't you think that you have an addiction? So you are addicted to Tony Robbins, similarly to many other people who permanently go to his seminars. They just can't live without him.
Actually, it's a very good question, because at the beginning, in the first 1, 2, 3 years, I was addicted. You're right, I was addicted. And then I started to see Tony differently, because, okay, so if somebody hasn't seen Tony Robbins yet live, it's a must. I mean, I think it has to be on everybody's bucket list, even if you don't go to any other seminar. But it's a must to see Tony Robbins live. So yes, I was addicted in the past. How I see him nowadays is he's an extremely talented and gifted trainer, speaker, coach, strategist, and at the same time, the more you learn from him and from others, the more you can realize that basically every answer that you're looking for outside of yourself is within you. Mm-hmm. So what Tony means for me these days is not. So I'm not going to date with destiny because of Tony. He's not my primary motivator. My main drivers are my friends who I already have, the people who I will make friends, the atmosphere that I'm going to experience, the contribution I can achieve, experience with the people, the love that I can express, the love that I receive there, the growth, the uncertainty. So it's after a while, it's much more than just one American guy. So that's how I see Tony Robbins these days.
Yeah, actually, first time, imagine I flew to Moscow from Budapest, mm-hmm. And I paid a lot of money for his tickets. So you know that the tickets are really expensive.
Sure.
And it was absolutely fantastic. And afterwards, I decided to go to London, and I would like to go to Dating Destiny, maybe not this year, so we will see mm-hmm. When, but anyway, I would like to do it. And you know that nowadays a lot of people, for example, in Russia, he was supposed to speak in front of the stadium of about 40,000 people in St. Wow. Petersburg. Mm-hmm. And a few months ago, they blew away this somehow. And actually, and what I saw in Moscow in September last year, in half an hour time, imagine the whole stadium of about 26,000 people. People were dancing, were jumping. So it was just absolutely amazing to see how a person who is almost 60 years old can do it. So my great appreciation to him. One of my professions is I teach, and very frequently I teach English language, courses on linguistics, and very frequently I send to my students his videos, especially, for example, his TED Talk, Why We Do What We Do.
Yes.
Are there any books in Hungarian language? Any books of Tony Robbins? I know that in Russia there are some of his books, they have been translated.
As far as I know, his early books, Awaken the Giant Within and Unleash Unleash Your Power or something like that. They are translated to Hungarian, yes.
So they have been translated. Okay,
Yes.
so it means that Hungarians can find
Yes.
something to read.
That's correct, yeah.
And what is your opinion? Is Tony Robbins popular in Hungary? Do people know him? I mean, I am a coach, I'm a psychologist, of course I know, and I love him. So, and what about other people? Who knows him?
I think Tony Robbins is more and more known in Hungary, but I would be happy if more people would have heard about Tony. The disadvantages or the way he could be more popular is having more of his books in Hungarian, or having more Hungarian translations of his movies, of his YouTube videos. And there's another thing that I think most Hungarians are a bit afraid of this American culture, American bullshit, American way of thinking, way of life, and many people put Tony Robbins in the same box. So I think it's a drawback, it's a challenge. 10 years ago, Tony wasn't so known in Hungary. He's more and more known. And also one thing that could help this is if Tony would come to Hungary.
Yes, that would be fantastic. Actually,
and one more thing is that buying a ticket to a Tony Robbins seminar to UPW to UK, it's going to be next May in Birmingham, is close to €1,000. So it's not.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, it's expensive. And what do you think about the following view? In Moscow, a lot of people wrote after Tony Robbins' seminar, they wrote that it was their most expensive disco they had attended. So many people just put it on the same scale with a disco for which you pay. I think I paid about €350 for that disco, but for me it was not a disco.
Yeah, sure. When somebody checks Tony live or takes part in the seminar, he can think as a disco because Tony loves to make people move. So it's not a regular seminar where you just sit in your chair and take notes all day, but at the Tony Robbins seminar, you jump up and down, you hug people, you talk to people, you move a lot. Of course, you drink water. There is no break. Okay, maybe one break a day. So yeah, it can be compared to disco, but you know the real one of the real gifts Tony has is that he does everything on purpose. So nothing happens at a Tony Robbins seminar in vain. And by moving, by dancing, by using our physiology, Tony helps us to understand and internalize everything he teaches. So a regular seminar and the Tony Robbins seminar, the difference is that everything you hear at the Tony Robbins seminar, you will remember much more, even after months or even years after the seminar.
Actually, one of the techniques which I learned from Tony, and I have been using it every day, sometimes even twice or 3 times, 100 jumps. So very early in the morning, almost the first thing I do is to jump 100 times. And if the weather is fine, I do it outside. If it rains, I do it at home. And it's fantastic. And for example, if you do you do it actually? Do you jump 100 times?
What I do is I live on the 5th floor, and in the balcony I have a trampoline.
Oh, and in the balcony.
Yeah, and I'm using it almost every day. Even when I feel a bit low, when my energy is not so high, I just go out to the balcony. Even if it's cold, it's not an issue, and I jump, and it complete. And the way, okay, so why Tony does it? Let's share some Tony's knowledge to our audience. Okay, so changing your physiology is one way to change your emotional state. So if you feel bad, if you feel sad, if you feel depressed, if you're fed up, and you want to stop that feeling, and you want to change it to a more empowering one, you want to put yourself into a beautiful state, the easiest way is to change your physiology.
Yeah. And so now, Attila, I would like to ask you a question about the events both of us attended last Saturday. I would like to remind you, of course,
Yes.
you remember it. This was a one-day workshop which was delivered by Attila Gilányi and some other people who helped him. And the name of this workshop was A LEGJOBB ÖNMAGAD, or we could translate it, the best version of yourself.
Yes.
Maybe this would be the proper translation. So it was the workshop based on the workshop Tony delivers primarily in London, but in many other places as well, Unleash the Power Within. But Tony does it in 4 days' time, and what Attila did, it was a one-day workshop which started at 9 in the morning and it lasted until 9 in the evening. So could you share your opinion about this workshop?
First off, I was on the phone with Atti in the morning. I've known him for 4 or 5 years. He's a good friend of mine. I think what he did was simply amazing. Why I say that? Because many people don't know about Tony Robbins, can't really afford a Tony Robbins ticket price, doesn't speak English good enough to understand Tony, which is a challenge. I think it wasn't easy for me either. Nowadays I'm much better and better. So what Attila did is he brought the best strategies and techniques of Anthony Robbins and delivered a one-day workshop and helped those 250 people to become the best version of themselves. I think it's great. So my first opinion is it's simply amazing. Second is that I'm also proud of Attila because that was his first one-day big event and he did amazing. Maybe you did already public speaking. It's not so easy to stand in front of 250 people and speak for an entire day. And I know Attila had helpers. There was another guy, Balázs, the funny guy. He was also on stage. One of my other friend, Adorian, he also delivered a 20-minute speech. But Attila did a great job. Attila did a great job. He got great feedback, and I think he managed to give the audience a teaser. I think that's the best word, a teaser of the Tony Robbins seminar.
And do you think we could call Attila now a Hungarian Tony Robbins?
I wouldn't call him. I wouldn't call him Hungarian Tony Robbins. First off, I think Attila doesn't want to be the Hungarian Tony Robbins. Attila is Attila, and the name of the workshop was not the best techniques of Tony Robbins in Hungarian or something like that. The title of the workshop was Be the Best Version of Yourself. And what Attila did, he put together a program using Tony's techniques and strategies, which he clearly stated, so it wasn't a secret. And he used a lot of other materials that he learned from NLP, from other teachers, and of course he used his own life experience, his own stories. So I think Attila is not the Hungarian Tony Robbins, and I would advise to nobody to become Hungarian of somebody else. I think everybody should become the best version of himself, as Attila said, which is I also working on it.
And how did you contribute to Attila's success? Attila, from the stage, pointed out at least twice how grateful he was to you. It was at the very beginning of the workshop, and it was at the very end of the workshop. Could you specify what you had taught to him? Had he attended your workshop on charisma, or had you worked with him personally?
I think what Attila meant for two things. First, it was 4 or 5 years ago where he decided to to go to UPW, and I told, we were a similar situation because he left the multinational company he worked for, and he got a lot of money and he wanted to spend wisely to learn to develop himself. And I advised him, Attila, it's great, but I advise you to take your wife with you because it's he's the closest person to you, and if you're gonna experience great stuff at Tony Robbins, you would want to share with her. I think that's one thing he meant, and since then we became friends, and we go to seminars together, we recruit together. I also help him a lot of Tony stuff. I think this is the first thing, and the second one, that's correct, because I learned a lot from Tony, and I keep learning from him and from others too. What I do now and in the past 4 years is I help people develop their charisma. And what does charisma mean? Charisma means that you have a special energy that people are drawn to you. You make people light up. You help them to become better. You help them to be the best version of themselves. And the fastest way to develop for anybody his or her charisma is to become better on stage, to become a better public speaker. And Attila knew many years ago that he wanted to become a better speaker. So he came to 2 of my workshops, 2 days workshop, and the focus of that was to be a better speaker. And I was also proud of Attila because everything he learned and I managed to give him, he embedded, he practiced, and he was using them on stage.
Yeah, actually, as far as I know that according to research, the vast majority of people are afraid of public speaking even more than they are afraid of their own death. Just to speak in front of as many people as there were on Saturday, the most beautiful place, New York Palace Hotel, and the room, so just absolutely gorgeous. I also have another question. Tony Robbins has this fire walk.
Yes.
Do you remember? I'm sure that you have done it many times. How many times have you done it? Have you walked on fire?
Actually, I participated in UPW twice, so I did at least twice, and every year in the past 6-7 years, I keep coming back to UK to crew or to be a senior leader. So altogether, I think I did firewalk at least 7 or 8 times, roughly. Yeah.
I have done it just once, so I did it in April. And to tell you the truth, I was not afraid at all there. So I knew that I would manage. But before that, I had read that a few years earlier, there had been some accidents, that about maybe 20 people had been taken to hospitals. But I was sure that everything would be fine with me, and I was in great state, physically, emotionally. So I did it. I didn't even feel anything. But what Attila had on Saturday, to tell you the truth, I was scared, really, for about 5 minutes. I would like to show to you guys who are watching. And Imre, could you explain what happened there? So what was what Attila did? Because I think it was just absolutely a great technique.
So yes, walking on fire or doing something that you're extremely afraid is nothing else but a metaphor, because all our fears are illusions. They are only protecting mechanisms of our brain. So Attila could have done also firewalk, but yes, you're right. New York Palace is a very nice hotel, so it would be problematic to burn the floor. So he chose something different, and what you showed is an arrow, and all the participants had the chance to break that arrow, their own arrow, with this part of their body here, because this one it's very easy to push, and we feel very vulnerable.
Absolutely, yes. I just put it here, and I thought I do not want to die. So
yeah. And the truth is that I think we shouldn't tell the truth, right? Because then we would reveal the secret.
I mean,
Okay,
I think we can. I think now we can reveal the truth.
Okay, let me put it in a different way. So you were afraid, and I did Breaking the Arrow also a couple of years ago, and I was afraid too because I didn't want to get injured. I didn't want to die. Of course, come on, going to a seminar and I die.
Exactly with me.
No, no way, no way. So it was also just a fear. And when you made the decision, okay, even though I fear, because many people want to neglect fear, they want to reject. You can't reject. You have the fear. It's okay, it's normal. But the more you're afraid, the more you take action. That's the way you can eliminate fear and make it lower. So what you did on Saturday, Anna, was that you were afraid, like all the 250 participants, which is normal, but you decided, okay, even though I have fear, I'm gonna do it. And when you did, you felt extremely happy, you were out of your mind, you were celebrating, and it's the same thing that happens during the firewalk. So doing a firewalk, breaking an arrow are only metaphors, And now as you broke the arrow and now you walked on fire, if there's something, there's a fear coming on your life, you will know what to do. And what to do is act on it. Even though you have fear, you have to take action. That's the secret. The more you're afraid, the more you have to take the action.
Yes, absolutely. And I was really proud of myself. And as I could see that maybe 5 people or 10 people didn't do it. But otherwise, almost everyone out of more than 200 people did it there. I have one more question, and this question is, who would you recommend this workshop to? Because I'm sure, what do you think? Should Attila continue having these workshops? Because my idea is that yes, there were only 200 people, and I'm sure that many more Hungarians would need. What is your opinion?
I definitely agree with you. So, and I was on the phone with Attila in the morning. He said that, yes, in January, they are planning the new workshop. Mm-hmm. And answering your question, first, I would advise to people who heard about Tony Robbins and they are curious for Tony Robbins, but they didn't attend an event, they don't have the money, they don't speak the language. So people who are interested in Tony Robbins. Second, people who have not heard about Tony Robbins at all, because you don't have to hear about Tony Robbins. You don't have to know even who Tony Robbins is. You just have to be open to learn something new, to implement something new into your life, to become the best version of yourself with some new techniques. Because the techniques and strategies that Attila presented on Saturday was, I think, not many people have done or seen them in Hungary yet.
Well, absolutely. Actually, after I attended Tony Robbins' program in London, afterwards I have published a couple of articles, but primarily in Russian language. So one was on Dickens' pattern. Mm-hmm. Another one was on the needs according to Tony Robbins. So and actually I was curious. So the very day of the conference, I was curious how Attila would be able to manage these techniques, because I mean, especially Dickens' pattern. So what do you think? Was he successful in doing it?
When he did the Dickens process, I was not in the room.
You were not in the room.
Because I was not in the room in that part. I got some feedbacks. It was successful. I heard some voices. It was also working, but I wasn't in the room during that part.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What would you like to say at the very end of this interview?
What would I like to say? Wow. Yes. I think, and let me quote Tony Robbins. He says that life is about growing and giving. And I'm sure it's not Tony who discovered it. Many famous people have said it at the same time. So this is something I think everybody can think about it and act on it. Life is really about growing and giving. And really the motivation behind growing is that the more you grow, the more you can give. And you don't have to be a fan of Tony Robbins. You don't have to be a fan of Attila Gilányi. You don't have to be a fan of myself or any other speaker or trainer on stage. You can implement this very easy principle on your everyday life. Just be 1% better every day or every week. So this is a takeaway number one. Just be better. Be a better version of yourself every day. And by being better, give more. Give more to yourself, to your spouse, to your partner, to your children, to your family, to your relatives, to your friends, to your community, to your colleagues, to your boss, to the people whom you know, even to the people who you don't know. Maybe the cashier at the supermarket. You just crack a joke, you make her smile, and you made her day, you made her week.
Yeah.
So life is really about growing and giving. So grow and give.
This is great. This is a great end of this interview. I have been interviewing Imre Bolya now. We have been talking about Tony Robbins. We have been talking about the impact Tony Robbins has had on both of us. Actually, just before we finish, I would like to say that after I attended the first workshop of Tony, just a couple of months later, I started having my own workshops, at first in English, afterwards in Russian, and even in Hungarian. And now I am doing these interviews. I think without attending Tony's workshops, I wouldn't have been able to do anything like this. My name is Anna Litovkina. Again, Imre, thank you very much. Thank you for your interview. We really, I can say that last Saturday, both of us witnessed something absolutely fantastic in Budapest, in New York Palace, and that was the workshop delivered by Attila Gilányi, and it was based on Tony Robbins methods, on Tony Robbins workshop, Unleash the Power Within. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you. Thank you.